Welcome back. Brand new Whistle Watch, and what a way to start the Six Nations. Plenty of things with us to unpack during the weekend's action. And joining me again is three-time Six Nations champion, Jamie Roberts. Three Grand Slams or three championships?
No, I wish. Wasn't that good, mate. Oh, did all right. Not that good. Good to see you back at Heath Hospital. Got me on my lunch hour. Happy days. Super exciting opening weekend. Lots to unpack. Let's check out the talking points for this weekend. Firstly, should Ellis Genge have seen a red card for the head-on-head contact with Alex Mann? We look at Carl Dixon's honesty and the Super Rugby trial laws. All that and more on this week's Whistle Watch. Right, Nigel, Six Nations a bit different this year because of the Winter Olympics opening ceremony on the Friday. Obviously, opening match played on the Thursday night in Paris, and what a game it was, France.
Yeah. I quite enjoyed actually Thursday night, something on the telly to watch. I did enjoy it actually, I have to say.
I would completely agree with you. And France were brutal but beautiful, and they awesome rugby, and just physically battered Ireland. Anyway, let's talk about the tries. BL Barret carrying on his rich training form, scores the opening try. Couldn't have scripted it. Was there a forward pass in that opening try? Is the TMO watching this?
Yeah, TMO is always checking in the background, okay? So I've seen a lot of comments, people going, well, they should check this TMO. They are. So when you wore the try and you've got maybe a little doubt in your mind about something, but you feel not enough to go I'm pretty sure this was forward, so I need to check it. What you'll do then, the TMO will be checking he'll have a huge amount of angles, he'll check in the background. He'll tell the referee then, based on the clear and obvious. If it's a 50-50, then he wouldn't and shouldn't.
And what's he checking for?
He'll be checking play and he'll check whatever then triggers him to check anything. So you're not going to go back looking, let me see if something happened here. Something will trigger you, I need to see that again. Yeah. So the key thing here is this. For me, the pass is fine. If I was refereeing this game, the pass is fine for me, because what I think a lot of people are getting a bit mixed up, as he passes the ball, which is a flat pass, okay? So it's marginal, it's a flat pass. But as he passes it, the player is tackled. So the player now is tackled backwards. So everybody watching now is seeing the player back there and the ball here. But that gives then the impression that was a forward pass, but it wasn't, because when it actually left it hands, it was going straight across. So for me, the try is good, but the TMO would be checking all that in the background.
Fine. 10 minutes later, did Dupont knock it on at the back of the
again?
Scrum? Yeah.
TMO checking in the background again. And if you look at it very, very... Remember now, he can zoom in. He's got all the angles and everything. Everything slowed down. Hawkeye zooming in. So he'll be checking this. And again, when I watched it, my instinct was, look like it came off his foot. That was my gut instinct watching it, Yeah. And obviously I'm aware then they're checking in the background. If you look at it closely, the one's hand sort of seems to just touch the ball, but it's kicked forward out of his hand then by the French number 8, I think it was. So it means then that he hasn't lost it forward, and therefore it's not a knock-on. So the try again, for me, the try is good.
Yeah. So when that ball's played away then, you're not then concerned about the scrum. So could the TMO then come in and decide that maybe the French were deliberately wheeling that scrum?
No. TMO can come in for foul play and stuff, and sort of if the referee wanted to check if that was a knock-on. Now remember, it's not illegal to wheel a scrum, okay? It's part of a plan. So if you've got your tight head or loose head, one of them is holding the ground. Your tight head holds his ground. The loose head then sort of drives. So you shift the scrum then gradually, slowly to the side in order to get that sort of space and sort of, for the blind side move or whatever, to keep the defence back row back a bit. So wheeling the scrum is not illegal, but you do it as one prop holding, the other one driving, and it's slow. What is illegal is if the back five run it round, or you come out and drive across or drive in. That's what's illegal. So what you need to decide here is, was that wheel of the French scrum, was that a natural ploy wheel? And if so, it's fine.
Let's talk about the disallowed try on minute 60. It was actually given, it was the Irish went over, and it didn't look like he had the ball in his hands as he scored the try, but was it still in contact with his tummy, wasn't it?
So what you need is downward pressure. Downward pressure on the ball, anywhere from the waist to the neck.
So you can't score with your hip.
Can't score with your hips. It's from the waist to the neck. So the fact here then that he had not lost control of the ball forward, which means it's not a knock-on. Right. Therefore, if it hasn't gone forward, all he needs to do then is apply downward pressure, and because you're underneath his stomach, or rolls on the stomach
with no separation.
That's a try then. The separation is irrelevant on the stomach. The separation is only if you were in possession of the ball. So if you was in your hands and the ball has gone forward and he's sort of left control of your hand, then it'd be a knock on. But if that ball goes backwards, then separation is irrelevant. And that's what happened here.
That's what happens, yeah. So try, rightly awarded. Right, Carl Dixon, there was an incident towards the end of the game. Didn't have a clue what was going on. He couldn't see
the feeling myself a few times.
How the ball went forward and came back on the French side. He wasn't sure. So he did the right thing with that incident and just check with TMO, because the implications are big, right, if you get that decision wrong.
Of course it is.
So it's only right to
That's what everybody wants. Everybody wants the right decision to be given. Yeah. Okay, that's what they want. So sometimes in a game, a referee will just say, I have no idea what happened there. Just players closing in front of you, and unless your assistant referees can input to you, then you're going, I have no idea what happened there. In this instance, that is it. Sorry lads, I got no idea what happened here, and the TMO then will check what happened. And I think a try was scored from that, I think, but then it was quite rightly chalked off because there was a knock-on. So that's good refereeing.
Yeah, and right decision, mate.
And right decision, that's the main thing.
Right, Nigel, all eyes on Rome, absolutely lashing it down with rain, and fair play, decent result for the
I enjoyed that game.
Italians. Really good game rugby. George Turner, yellow, minute 54, that illegal clear out. It went to the bunker, but remained at a yellow. How do you see that clear out?
I think yellow is probably the right outcome, yeah. So what you're going to remember here now is, okay, you can sort of discuss or ask the question or even argue, saying, well, how is he going to clear out then if he's not going to be able to come in like this? But the point is as he's coming in, that Italian player is always there. So he knows now that the onus is on me now to avoid that head contact. It's not a case of I'm coming in, and as I'm coming in, this guy lifts his head up, or this guy now comes down into my path.
His head is there.
He's always there. So you've got a clear line of sight now. You see his head is there. You want to clear that guy now. The onus is on you now to make sure you do everything you can to avoid making contact with the head. And he didn't do that. No. So he comes in. His arm is down by his side, which you would be, because as you come in, you're going to go underneath. But then I think the Italian player then, his arm sort of blocks his arm for coming up. So you could say he would have come up underneath him, but the Italian guys prevented that. And I think it sort of glances sort of the head rather than direct head contact.
And that's why I'd probably say they're yellow.
And that's why it remained on a yellow card. But
so
the main thing is...
Do you think that would have gone to red if that was direct?
If he'd gone direct to the head, because he could have avoided it. Now, if the defender would have done something last minute to change that, then it'd been different. But I think the degree of danger was deemed to be low, and that sort of prevented this coming up afterwards, and then the yellow card is correct there, yeah.
Right, Nigel, big one, Twickenham. We were both there. Tough day for the Welsh, but...
I wasn't there, actually. I had a cow calving at home, yeah. Okay. So I'm just depending what to name. But I don't know how to name it now.
Rose.
I'll have to name it. Yeah, good one, that's Rose, yeah.
Anyway, tough day for the Welsh, but England were impressive. Quite a few incidents in this game, right? Wales obviously had quite a few yellow cards. But we'll start with a couple which weren't yellow cards. Thomas Williams gets the ball, midfield ruck, isn't there? And Ellis Genge is there on his knees. He's trying to get out the way, but he's in that kind of passing lane. And Thomas just spots him there. There's nothing really on for Wales and just throws the ball at him. And the referee in that situation has no other option than to give a penalty, right?
Well, yes, you do have there's always another option. So the key thing is he in the way of Thomas Williams's natural pass? Okay, yeah. So let's say Ellis Genge.
He's assaulted Welsh.
Let's say that Ellis Genge was on the ground, okay? Yeah. And now Thomas Williams now throws the ball down at Ellis Genge. Yeah. Then the referee would say, sorry mate, that's a forward pass. Okay. You're not in your way, you threw it down. Yeah. Or let's say then that Ellis Genge is there, Thomas's pass is going to be to the outside half there because there's no other player here for him to pass here, and he decides not to pass that natural line, just to go for the penalty.
See, in my opinion, that's what happened.
I thought that. I thought, but when you look at it again,
he's actually in the way.
He's definitely in the way of the guy that Thomas Williams is going to pass to. So he is in the way. My advice here would be to Ellis Genge, either roll out of the way or stay down, because when you get up like this, You're telling everybody, I'm offside. Someone's going to go, he's in my path.
It's smart play by Thomas, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, to win the penalty.
Now, if Thomas Williams would have gone, the other thing Thomas Williams could have done is not pass it and say, he's in my way, then the referee still would have given the penalty. So in this instance, yeah, you don't like to see that, but to be fair, he was in the line of the pass of the ball, so the penalty was correct. Yeah.
Nice, right, another incident involving Ellis Genge, Ellis Jones, as we call him, the adopted Welshman. Was it a headbutt on Alex Mann? We saw them come together. We often see players squaring out prime, but he actually makes head-to-head contact. Ref's given a penalty. Should it have been more?
I had the same thing happen with me. It was similar. France, England, Le Crunch game out in Paris. Oof, I could be going back 12 years ago, if not a bit more. Mike Brown and Genge, the winger for Toulouse and France, both of them put their foreheads together. So there was no sort of headbutt, but they did that sort of Ellis Genge, move forward into the space, and the both of them did it. I called the both of them over, and I said to both of them, you're both acting very immature. Mike Brown sort of realised and went off. Genge was going, what does that mean? But still went. So that's the way I dealt with it. Now, in this instance here, a couple of things to ask. Is this something we want to see in the game? And I think even the most ardent England fan would say, no, we don't want to see this in the game, okay? Do we have a headbutt? No, we don't. Because what you have is two players squaring up, and one player in this instance, Ellis Genge, sort of pushes his head forward. So you don't have that
instigates the
headbutt.
contact.
Yeah, he pushes his head forward. So for me, that's not a headbutt. So for me, this is not a red card. So the referee is an option how to deal with this here. You either deal with the both the players and tell them, hey boys, that's not the way you behave in the field, and get on with it. But then the only one who's instigated the contact is Ellis Genge. Should be unfair then to sort of share that blame, even though he may have sort of done something to provoke it, we don't know. So you then identify you're not supposed to do that, and it's a penalty. And I would say if you're identifying that putting a head into somebody's face is an act of foul play, then personally I probably would have followed it up with a yellow card. And that's the general consensus is not a red card, it's not a headbutt. A yellow card would have been the sufficient punishment for it because we don't want to see it.
All right, so England quite far ahead on the scoreboard. You know who, Pollock, goes in for a try in the corner. He thinks he's scored, but unfortunately hasn't put the ball down quick enough. His legs are out of play, right? Taine Plumtree comes in for that tackle. Now, you could argue 3 to 5 years ago in rugby, I mean, it's a fair tackle, isn't it? He's coming in, but he clocks him square in the jaw as he's going in to score the try. Is that a fair yellow card?
You have to have empathy with the tackler here because unless he's going to come in and try and do that type of tackle, he's not going to get. So you may as well just let him score. Now, that is not in the instinct as a defender, as you know. The key thing here is, the easy one is if you come in with a swinging, so some players is to come in with a swimming arm because what they're hoping is this swinging arm now is going to dislodge the ball. Yeah. So if you come in with a swinging arm, a swinging arm and catches him in the head or the neck, it's easy. Yellow card, penalty try. But here he tries to make a tackle, albeit that the player is sort of on the way down. He's quite high trying to get there, and it is a high tackle. So what you need to ask yourself here is it a high tackle? Yes, it is. Has it prevented a probable try? And it probably has, because if he hadn't made that high tackle,
he would have grounded it. His legs wouldn't have gone out.
So then, yeah. It's an unlucky one for the player, but there's not much choice really. You have to deal with the facts. The tackler's high, he's round the neck. Now listen, if the tackler was much lower and Pollock was also much lower, then you'd have been very, very different. But because it's still quite high up in this instance, then the decision is the correct one.
So for taking Plumtree there, anywhere but the face. Shoulder, legs, anywhere, but he's just...
And going back to what you just... So when people are looking... And this is what a lot of people have been talking about. If you look at this in context, and I'll go back to what we just talked about, the Ellis Genge. So what people are going, well, hang on now. You've got a guy just stuck his head in somebody's face and gets just a penalty. And a guy here is just doing everything he can to make a tackle. And yes, it's high, but lands up with a yellow card. So the optics are... Well, which is the worst action here then? well, Ellis Genge is the worst action, but this guy gives a yellow card. And a penalty try. So, yeah, so that's why, hence, for me, Ellis Genge should have been a yellow card. But, yeah, this is correct. Penalty try.
Right, so on the theme of penalty tries, Super Rugby trialling a new law this year that if there is a penalty try, you now don't have to give an automatic yellow card. Now, we discussed this on the last series of Whistle Watch.
If you can identify the individual, you have to give a yellow card.
You have to give a yellow card.
If you can't, scrum goes down, then you don't have to.
That's it. But they're trialling in Super Rugby now that you don't necessarily have to give a yellow card. So it could be a penalty try or an action that warrants a penalty try, but maybe not worthy of a card. What do you think?
I know a lot of... Myself and Wayne Barnes always have a good debate about this. Barnesy was the same as Super Rugby's view on it. You know, it shouldn't have to be a double whammy. I don't know. What you're doing here now is technically rewarding a negative act. So if you think about it, a player now will decide, well, look, unless I go out there and deliberately knock this ball forward, or if I don't deliberately throw myself and collapse this maul, they are going to score. Okay? Now, what probably is making you think twice is, or at least the option of thinking twice is, we're going to be down to 14 men as well for 10 minutes. Now think about it. If I just don't deliberately knock this ball on, if I don't just fall down there, or if I just don't take down this maul illegally, they're probably going to score.
But the ref can still give a yellow. It's up to the referee's discretion, right?
Well, then you're opening up the inconsistency then. So what you can have then is one maul going down and giving a yellow card and a penalty try, another one going down and giving just a penalty try. For me, this should be a deterrent. What you have now is, I'm going to risk it here. He may not give a penalty try, and even if he does, we're still going to be at 15 men. So I'm not sure what the point of this is. As it is now, I think it's very consistent. You know, if you commit an act of foul play that prevents a probable try, you go to the bin. So there's no inconsistency.
If they can identify.
Yeah. But then I can also see a value point for this trial, in one sense, is what we just talked about the tackle in Twickenham with Plumtree. So you're looking at that going, oh, that's unlucky. So then now you wouldn't yellow card that guy because you're going, that's not cynical, that's unlucky, so it's not the yellow card. Whereas somebody who gives a deliberately knock on, so the only thing I can see a value in trialling this for that reason, but so Plumtree was unlucky, okay? But
you think it's unlucky? Would another referee think different?
I don't think so. Not in the Plumtree one. I think the general consensus would be that was unlucky.
He's gone to tackle him.
Yeah, exactly. So then what you'll have here now is Plumtree won't be yellow carded for this, for example, under this trial. But then somebody then, if he feels, well, you deliberately took that maul down, you can still yellow card it. So it will open up a little bit more inconsistency in the decision making. But I can see the point of
it.
The Plumtree one, for an example.
Yeah, what sort of penalties are going to fall in that bracket then? Is it something like that? Is it that tackle over the line? Where
I would assume so. I hope it's not a case that if you give a penalty try, it's automatically not a yellow card. Because if an act is cynical enough to warrant the yellow card in itself, whether a penalty try was scored or not, then that should still be a yellow card. So imagine you deliberately knock the ball on. You had no intentions of catching it. You just go out there and you slam that ball down, and the referee gives a penalty try and a yellow card now. I hope that will still remain the case. I hope that if this is a trial, it's about the example of the Plumtree one where you're unlucky here and therefore it's not a yellow card. Whereas you were cynical, you just deliberately knocked that ball on. I'm sorry, penalty try, and that act is cynical enough to warrant the yellow card as well. The only thing about that, will it bring a bit more inconsistency?
Right, Nudge. Emirates fan question. Luke Cowan-Dickey, he's not a small player. So there's one ruck at Twickenham on the weekend. He gets pinged for a neck roll. If you actually watch it, he neck rolls two players. So he misses the clean. Two Welsh players over the ball, gets them both, and sits back. So gets pinged for the neck roll. Okay. Is there a place in rugby, if you're committing two crimes, you should get twice the punishment? Very few and far between these instances, right, where you're committing two offences. But is that a fair question?
Yeah, I think it is. Because so imagine you make a neck roll, okay, and the referee is going, well, it's a neck roll, it's a penalty only, but be careful, it's you're bordering on a card here, maybe, like, and then, but you've done 2 of them, then I don't know, you'd have just a penalty for 1, you just grab 2 and just pull them over, that's dangerous. Off you go for 10 minutes. So yeah, you can deal with it as he did and just penalise it, or if you felt that, hang on now, you've just grabbed 2 players here, that's highly dangerous, yellow card, off you go. So yeah, you could look at it in that sense, that it was it's a bit like, I guess, imagine he'd done a neck roll, gets a warning, and he does it again. What he's done here is done 2 in 1. So yeah, you could easily have dealt with this with a yellow card if you felt that 2 of those instances were warranted a yellow card, yeah.
All right, happy days. Well, that's it for the first episode of Whistle Watch. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you all next week. Super exciting. Round 2, Six Nations.